Jeff Wood here for Ready Up Live, but you might know me as Minolta1034. And I'm here to do a little bit of a follow-up video to talk about multiplayer campaign and why I came down so hard on Titanfall about its campaign. I want to address some of the comments that were brought up in the last video. Now, some of you guys said that the games just shouldn't be compared. And honestly, I think that's dumb. I mean, if you just say like, oh, you just can't possibly compare these two new games. Like, Halo's 10 years old and Titanfall's brand new. How could you compare them? Well, come on, guys. They're both first-person shooters. They're very, very alike. Of course we're going to compare them. Now, we said that they couldn't be compared because maybe their budgets restricted them. I also think that that's not true. Yes, the budgets are probably different. I wouldn't doubt that Halo 4 had twice or three times the budget that Titanfall had. However, I would also say that there's tons of other first-person shooters and games in general out there that would probably have about the same budget as Titanfall and are doing much more with it. One of the first games that comes to mind is Borderlands, the original game. The estimated budget on that game is somewhere between 10 and 20 million, and I think people are guesstimating the budget of Titanfall being around 20 to 40 million. And Borderlands 1 had a huge single-player campaign, all the RPG elements, as well as multiplayer. It was great. They had a whole bunch of features, way more than what I would say Titanfall gives you. So why did I come down so hard on Respawn for their lack of a campaign? Some people said that maybe I should let them off the hook, that the game wasn't really designed for campaign in mind. And here's my issue, is that if you're going to release a AAA game and you're going to put the word campaign in it as a mode, because when you go to the Titanfall home screen, you're going to see play campaign as the first option in the game. You're going to call that a campaign, you are inviting comparison. You are asking me to compare the Titanfall campaign to every other video game campaign by nature of calling it that. So if Respawn had have just made it a multiplayer game, had no campaign whatsoever, then I would have said, hey, the game doesn't have any campaign, that kind of sucks, what can you do? But they chose to include it. They even marketed it as an evolution of campaign, as I said in the previous video. And that's what really irked me, is that it just plain wasn't. So when you invite that comparison, you are going to get negative reviews, because honestly, if you're going to have the Titanfall campaign and hold it up against any other game, the Titanfall campaign is going to be found lacking. It just is. And so I think that was Respawn's fault, and really that's what I was saying in my previous video, is Respawn, why would you even attempt this if you're going to do such a poor job? Which is really a shame, because honestly, the idea of multiplayer-driven campaign is an incredibly cool idea. Think about this. Say you've got 9 multiplayer maps or levels, and you have to fight through these different encounters, just like Titanfall. But instead of the story remaining the same throughout the entire thing, instead, the story branches off based on if you win or lose your match. So this way, if you win your first 3 matches, lose your next one, and then win 2 more, you get a completely different story than if you had have won your first match and then lost your next 6. Plus, this would bring in some of the competitive aspects of multiplayer into the campaign, as getting through an entire campaign of 9 or 10 matches without losing a single one, that would be incredibly difficult, right? I mean, not for everybody, but for the average player, winning 9 or 10 match-made games in a row in any game is pretty tough. That's a pretty crazy win streak, right? So it would be very, very interesting to see a campaign whose story branches based on how you perform in the in-game matches. And not just the branching storyline, but just as Titanfall did, in the game, you could play through the campaign on either side of the fight, so the militia versus the IMC, and have the story be different there as well. Yes, I understand that means that you would have to have someone actually write a story that has a whole bunch of different narrative endings, but I mean, I'm sure somebody who worked on Mass Effect is looking for a job, right? They've got to be out there. That means you could have a whole bunch of different interesting stories. One side for the IMC, one side for the militia, and then you could progress through either branch a bunch of different times in order to try to unlock different parts of the story that you hadn't maybe seen. I think it would make the matches feel like they have a lot more weight and a lot more importance to them, and I also think that just the endless combination of levels would allow you to replay the campaign a whole bunch. The point of my previous video, and what I'm trying to make clear now, is that Titanfall advertised itself as revolutionizing the first-person shooter genre. They said that they were going to totally change up the way that we experience the first-person shooter campaign by mixing in single-player and multiplayer elements. Unfortunately, what we actually got was just regular matchmaking with like a podcast in between. It wasn't really that innovative or interesting. So my issue was that when the game came out and I turned on the campaign mode, of course my expectations were in line with other campaigns within the genre. Halo 4, Call of Duty, Battlefield, Borderlands. It doesn't matter which game I compare it to. The Titanfall campaign, when compared eye to eye with most other game campaigns, is found wanting, just in terms of lack of story or characterization, not to mention the fact that it's just a series of multiplayer matches and doesn't feel connected. It's just a disjointed mess. And so if they had have just stuck to their guns and gone all multiplayer, I wouldn't have had a problem with it. But as soon as you put that campaign label on it, you're bringing in a whole bunch of expectations and inviting a bunch of comparison that maybe you just don't want. I really hope that Titanfall expands on the multiplayer campaign idea and maybe uses the thing that I just pitched a little while back there. I mean, if they just sent me a check in the mail, then I wouldn't sue them at all. So it would be great. Anyway, guys, that's it for this video. Thanks a lot for watching. My name's Jeff Wood, but I'm also Minolta1034. If you haven't already, I hope you guys have checked out This Is Gold, the new Minecraft rap that Dan wrote and I produced. It's a lot of fun, and I really hope that it does just as well as Requiem Awaits, our first rap song. And don't think that we're not maybe thinking about working on some new raps in the future. Maybe a little Titanfall rap in there. I don't know. I wouldn't tell you. It's a secret. So anyway, thanks a lot for watching, guys. Check out This Is Gold. Go play some Titanfall, because it is a great game. I mean, the other thing is that besides anything that I've said about the campaign, the multiplayer in Titanfall is a blast. Go check it out. Go play it. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you next time. Okay, Respawn, you have a great game here. You've got great gameplay, you got a lot of fun, you got the Titans, I mean, it's fantastic, but you totally missed the boat on campaign. You missed it. You missed the boat. See, my problem is that the campaign is just not a campaign. The story, it's weak. It's not interesting. It's generic. The militia versus the IMC. Oh, this big colonization government thing is coming to take over these little rebels. That's just, it's not a super interesting. I am what I am. I'm not a potato. Take me as a piece, send me off to sea. Maybe I'll make fries from you. See, I'm not that good at making up songs.